This summer, my family and I decided to go to Colorado. My last 5 days in Colorado had been everything I could have imagined and more, but today my trip would reach new heights, both literally and figuratively. Pikes Peak is one of the highest summits in the southern part of the Rocky Mountains, standing at 14,115 feet tall. So you're probably wondering, how do you get here? The three most common ways are by driving, bus, or railway. While driving up to the summit is definitely doable, there are some things that you should consider, including the fact that there are a lot of switchbacks on this road, so the driver needs to be extremely cautious and you probably want to have a 4-wheel drive. The second way is through a bus called the Gray Line, which takes you on a tour that lasts 4 hours long up to the summit. And lastly, there's the Pikes Peak Cog Railway, which is a train that takes you up to the summit. Also, if you're curious, this is how the pricing varies. So the prices might change in the future, but generally speaking, driving is going to be the most affordable option, and then the train, and lastly, the bus or shuttle. We ended up taking the Pikes Peak Cog Railway, and later on in this video, I'll tell you my honest opinion of it. There are different time slots for this train, and since we were taking the first one, which leaves at 8 o'clock, we had to wake up at 6.
Eating breakfast right now at 6:05. We have to leave at 6:40 to make it to our Pikes Peak Railway cog on time.
If you're wondering why it's called Pikes Peak, basically there was a lieutenant named Zebulon Pike, and he was the first one who spotted this mountain, so they named it after him. Because, you know, they were obviously extremely creative.
The 8 o'clock train will begin its boarding process in just a few minutes.
So you're probably wondering which side of the train you should sit on, and it really just depends on what you're prioritizing. So one side has 2 seats and then the other side has 3 seats. And I would say if you want to see more wildlife, sit on the 2-seat side, but if you're more into the scenic beauty, then sit on the 3-seat side. One thing that kind of surprised me was on the train ride up, I actually fell asleep, and I'm not the type of person who can fall asleep very easily, so I looked into this, and basically it's because of the elevation change, and when you go to higher elevation, there's less oxygen, so your body has to work extra hard for you to get the same amount of oxygen, and that makes you tired, and that's why you get sleepy. Initially, they actually told us that there was a slight chance that we wouldn't make it up to the summit because there was something on the railroad tracks, and at first I thought it was probably wildlife or something, but then when we got to the top, they actually told us that a Lamborghini had flipped over on the track. Yeah, so that's definitely something I never thought I would say.
Luckily, we officially made it to the summit. We have officially made it to the summit of Pikes Peak, and it's definitely much colder than it was. I tell you to drink water a lot on the way up here, which I was kind of doing. But I also think that because we've been in Colorado for quite a couple of days now, it wasn't that hard to adjust to this elevation. So I would probably recommend not doing Pikes Peak as soon as you get to Colorado. Give yourself a couple days to kind of get familiar with that elevation, because it made it a lot easier. At the top, they have a visitor center. You can use the restroom up here, and they have a gift shop as well as a place to get food. We had heard a lot of good things about the donuts, so we decided to try them, and they were definitely good, but also 40 minutes at the top go by a lot quicker than you think they will. So if you really don't want to buy something from the gift shop, I wouldn't recommend spending that much time in the visitor center. I would probably have gone outside and spent more time there. And now for my honest review of the Pikes Peak Cog Railway. I'm not gonna lie, overall I think it was a little underwhelming. So first of all, the train is kind of slow and it's also super loud, so it's not the most pleasant, relaxing type of experience. On top of that, the service on the train was good. I'm not trying to take away from that, except while I did learn some historical facts on the guided tour, overall I would say it wasn't as informative as it could have been. Regardless of how I felt about the tour, Pikes Peak itself is something that will definitely not be underwhelming and definitely not disappoint, because the views from up here, I'm telling you, you can't get these views anywhere else in Colorado. Later that day, we went to Garden of the Gods, and it was so rainy and cozy outside. I absolutely love when the weather is like this. I had this Nesquik milk, which I definitely recommend. Here's a quick look at my outfit. I love the way the blue and the green kind of complement each other and look like Earth, which goes with the whole nature theme with Garden of the Gods. And I know it's not that deep, but I love overanalyzing things like that. Once you get to Garden of the Gods, you will definitely know you are there because you can't miss it. And now this is the part where you can take a look at the view and Garden of the Gods, of course. This day was all about the views, and we got to visit the landmarks that really just come to mind when you think of Colorado. These are like the places that you'll see on the postcards. They're on top of the list, and we got to see both of them on the same day, which was very exciting. Also, I kind of got to know what it's like to be tall when I went to Pikes Peak. It was like the first time where people were asking me what the weather's like up there, and I got to tell them that it's actually really cold. Don't pretend like just because you're from the Midwest it's not cold, because it is. Bring a jacket. But anyways, I had so much fun today. It was definitely one of the more chill days, less physically strenuous. Now, I definitely can't say the same thing for the next day, because on that day, you'll see.